Rawr!
When did we all get this dumb?
Almost only counts in horseshoes, hand grenades, and nuclear warfare. I don't see any bodies, so it doesn't count.
I'm angry about time.
I'm the chef. I want to hear one thing. Yes, chef.
Come on, man. Use your brain.
The Why I'm Angry podcast starts now.
All right, we're here. Why I'm Angry podcast. Special report here on the debate. Watched it last night. Still reeling. I watched the U.S. self-destruct in a soccer game against Panama. 10 minutes in, one of our players just decided to hit a guy in the back of the head and got a red card. We didn't really recover too much from that. We scored a goal and went ahead for about 4 minutes and then lost the game. So yeah, still reeling from that disappointment against Panama of all countries. Just should have won that game. And then went and watched the debate just pretty much right afterwards and had to endure 25-30 minutes of CNN pre-coverage where, Biden couldn't do anything wrong, where he's the master of the universe right now. He's, the greatest economy that we've ever seen, the borders as secure as we've ever had, all of that stuff. And then into the debate. So I've written a few things down. I'm kind of just going to go with my reactions to it. Remember, follow, like, and share if you haven't gotten our podcast this week. It is because we have not set up our contract with the podcasting carrier. And we're still getting that set back up. So more than ever, this is the time to help us out. I mean, we're not funded by any major carriers. You don't see any major advertisements, during our broadcast or anything like that. You may hear a few advertisements during our podcast if you're on the podcast, because we've got a small contract with that, and actually over the last 2 years we've raised about $10.50 for our podcasting off of that advertisement. So it's pretty much us funding it, listener funded. If you're helping us out, giving us a few dollars here or there, you can go on our website. It's at whyimangry.com. This isn't going to be too long because I've got my 2-year-old sleeping up above me in her bedroom, and so I've got to get that done. And if you hear her at the end or whatever, then that's where we're at. So into the debate. We just kind of sat down with my wife and we kind of got into the watched the debate. I didn't get to see the first question because I was putting my daughter to bed and grabbing something to eat and stuff like that, and just and all that. So I didn't get to see that first question, but I did kind of see the rewind of it where he was talking about Medicare and how he and that's how we got Medicare now. And I figured we would see one of two Joes. We would see the jacked up Joe that was just raring to go, like we saw at the State of the Union, or we would see no Joe, and we saw last night no Joe. It was actually pretty painful to see. It's sad, not you don't want to see anybody, any public official, any older person elderly person. My grandma just died of Alzheimer's about a year and a half ago or so. And, you know, it's hard to see that standing on stage, and it's hard to see that he didn't know what was going on. He had his talking points, and he had his things to say, and you could kind of see that it seemed like there was somebody off to the one side prompting him, but when it came to having that thought process to rebuttal somebody, it wasn't there. And I saw he just gave a speech in North Carolina. Kind of, he had to say something because afterwards, it this is what surprised me the most is afterwards. They got Van Jones on there. They got his one of his ex press correspondents out there. They had a couple other people out there that I haven't seen as much on the coverage lately, and they were just shocked that he just he was bumbling around. He didn't know what he was saying. He didn't finish sentences. He shocked about this, and it's like this is what we've seen. This is the scene we've had for the last 2.5 years. I mean, falling up the stairs, falling off a bike. This is what we show the world all the time, and we're like, oh, but he's the greatest. Oh, he keeps he's keeping us safe. We're not in wars, and if you ask him, no soldiers have died on his watch, except for the 1,000 or so people that died when he got out of Afghanistan and left them there, and all of the weapons and things of that nature that we just left in Afghanistan, the billions and billions of dollars we've sent to Ukraine instead of fighting, and the lack of support we've had for our allies like Israel. So, yeah, I mean, and I'm not gonna say that Trump had the best debate ever. He could have kept the message on. We're making America great. We are, this is the plan to, to advance the economy. This is, and all of that. He could have done a better job of those things. But at the same point, he definitely looked sharper out there than Let's Go Joe, which I thought was a funny thing to put on his back wall of his exit speech. The instead of the "Let's Go Brandon, Let's Go Joe" is his running thesis or running mantra. Let's go, Joe. And so, yeah, I really thought that was fun. I mean, on any of and it was great. I watched the half hour after, watched about 20 minutes of it or so to see what CNN was, to see what the liberal side or what the media was going to push tomorrow. And it was exactly what I said it was going to be. It was that maybe we got the wrong guy. Maybe this guy doesn't have any juice left in him. I said 3-4 weeks ago or 3-4 months ago when they opened up the debate And when they had actually finally scheduled a debate, I said, we'll see one debate and then Joe will be gone. Now, I've seen some other, I think some people on the conservative side, on the Republican side, I don't think they know what the actual plan coming forth is. But and I don't know who's going to be chosen, but I know they have some good candidates, some people that they can bring in that have been quietly sitting in waiting, and just I think, honestly, I think if they pull JFK Jr. back in, I don't think they would have an issue doing that. I don't think that they will think twice about it, and I don't think he would think twice about joining that campaign. As long as, he gets to choose his running mate type thing, or as long as they choose his running mate and all. But, they could also run Gavin Newsom. Both strongish candidates, both have very liberal views, both are younger, both have a great following, both can command an audience, both and both can actually debate. And you would see life breathed into it. People wouldn't say, well, I can't vote for the guy who can't, form a sentence, can't keep a thought throughout a whole, like, it was 2 minutes between the bells. You had 2 minutes and then they cut you off. And I don't care about the cutting you off type thing. That's, honestly, it probably kept it from being more argumentative. It probably made Trump's answers less cohesive because he couldn't finish his answer until they turned his mic back on for the next question, and then he said, "Oh, and I'll go back to blah 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 and say this," and then they have 80 seconds left to answer blah 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 question. And so I think that that didn't really hurt or help. It actually probably helped Trump not seem so bullyish and not run over Biden so much. Probably helped him look a little more mature and a little better at what he was doing. And there were times, obviously at the end when they were talking about their golf scores and stuff like that, whatever. But I also don't feel like anyone that went into this debate and that said, well, I don't know, I want to see Biden energized and ready and presidential. I don't think anyone that didn't see Biden for what he was is going to vote, is going to vote for Trump. Even if you didn't like Biden, is Biden so terrible that you're going to vote for Trump? I don't see it. Obviously, nobody that watched the debate that was on the fence for Trump and thought, I'm kind of leaning towards Trump. I want to see who this Biden cat is. Obviously, nobody thought, yeah, that Biden guy, he looks like he's got it all together, because he just blank stares, and there was no rebuttals. There was no debate back and forth. He did not address anything except for the golf score thing. And he just and when he couldn't address it, he said, Trump lies. It's all lies. And I guess it's how you look at the numbers or whatever, but 15 million new jobs. The economy is the best it's ever been. The border is as locked down as ever. It's 20 million people crossing the borders. You've got 20,000 people a day flooding in here. And the Border Patrol union has endorsed Biden for president. And I did see on Fox News, I did flip over to Fox News for about 10-15 minutes just to see where they were at on things. Just to, not that I even follow them as a news organization anymore, because as supposed to be fair and balanced as they are, they're right leaning. They lean to a side. I just get the information. Like, I went on here to search what questions were asked at the debate, and you can't, like, you should be there should be a list of somebody's written down all of the questions that were asked at the debate. And I see no list. I got on DuckDuckGo. I got on Google. It's all, the first thing is NPR. What to know about the key policies that got airtime in the debate. If you ask Google, or if you go on their little questions things on the suggestion questions, it gives you that article. They're not trying to give you the actual what happened. They're trying to spin it the way they want to spin it. And you're seeing that Google's going to do that. This isn't freedom. This isn't fair and free, or this isn't nonpartisan. This is exactly what we've been talking about. If you don't see it for yourself, if you don't read it for yourself, if you don't figure it out yourself, then it's not you thinking. It's not your intelligence. It's not your thoughts. So you might as well just let it go for someone else. And I was watching one of the other talking heads, I think on the Blaze Network, and they were saying that, the guy's thoughts were that people can't be bothered to educate themselves to be citizens. We're citizens of the U.S. And the reason that the forefathers didn't make this a direct democracy is because they didn't believe that a couple 100,000 citizens would educate themselves enough to vote for the most powerful person in the world. And it wasn't even the most powerful person in the world at that time. It was the most powerful person in the country of 100,000 people. So they made this a republic where we vote for most of the people that are over charge of us, and then we vote with our votes for the people who are going to elect our president. And so we just need to start educating ourselves on it. We need to watch these things. And I know that it's super painful. It was terribly painful to watch. Like, and because I was flipping from the game to this, I end up, having to watch another 25-30 minutes of the prep for the debate. And just in it, just to talk a few questions about it. Biden says, "Oh no, I don't. This guy wants to ban abortion altogether." Well, honestly, that would be great. But there are circumstances where the mother's life is in danger, or there was incest or rape or something like that, and I understand that there should be some sort of right and privilege to protect yourself or do what's best for the baby and yourself. Obviously, I have troubles with what's best for the baby is to kill it. Even if that baby's going to live a life that is subpar. So, I mean, I still struggle and just like I just don't. I'm not sure where I like, not where I stand, but I just feel like everyone has a purpose for of something, and whether that purpose is to be born and impact someone's life for the better, or whether it's to be born and live some crappy drug infested life and somehow either get out of it or whatever or not, somehow that life impacts somebody else, and that life can impact multiple other people for the good. It can impact those people um, in many different ways, and it can impact people for the bad. But I feel like that God has a plan for all of those people's lives. And, we make decisions that, God wouldn't have made for us. But, I just still feel like there's a reason for those people. So, but Joe doesn't even realize that he said that he would approve late term. He thought it was, the only time that they wanted the late term abortions were when it was a detriment to the mother, it was rape or incest. Well, you knew it was rape or incest ahead of time. So you could have done that, with a Plan B pill. You could have done that in the first couple of weeks. Any of that. So that doesn't really that doesn't count on the board. That's not where we're at on things on the board here. So, actually here I'm getting on the comments here. If anybody has a comment or any questions, or you want to comment about what happened during the debate, hit me up on it. I'll actually live comment back and forth. I might pull your comment up onto the broadcast here. So if you have any comments, you're seeing this, or you're seeing me for the first time, and you have questions about who I am, what I'm doing, and why I even care, shoot me questions, comments, words of wisdom, anything of that nature. We're on about I don't know, about 15 different platforms right now. Just getting our word out. But again, you don't see commercials on here because we're live, user friendly, user funded, our own funded, self funded podcast, and it's not free, and it's not always cheap. So we're trying to get the word out the best we can. whyimangry.com. But back to it. Joe's on the abortion train, and he's saying that Trump says, you voted to allow the doctors to take the baby out, set it on the table, and then decide what is going to happen with it. And he says, well, no, we just only believe that the mother should, if the mother's life is in danger. Well, at that point, the mother's life's obviously not in danger. So you don't even know what's going on. Like, you just no knowledge, just no way he was debating. And so, I mean, he calmed down. He decided not to debate anymore. Towards the end, he looked a little stronger, they say. I think he looked just as bad, because it really literally was not a debate. It was one guy saying his talking points and rebutting the other person's talking points, and then the other guy just regurgitating barely a stump speech over and over again. We're the greatest country in the world. There's no president that wouldn't in any other country that wouldn't trade with me. Well, yeah, that's true, but maybe. But at the same point, you're in a country, you're in the greatest country in the world that's now starting to decline. We're on the decline with we've got super high inflation. We're no longer energy independent. 4 years ago, 3.5 years ago, we were energy independent. We were, we had decent trade tariffs that helped us with the trade deficits. Yeah, at one point 20, 30 years ago, we were the highest manufacturing country in the world because we were one of the only manufacturing countries in the world that was able to trade and to get our products out. Well, that's not the case anymore. Most of the time, the products that we're trading aren't even made here, and so we don't hold the final patents for half of it anymore. So it doesn't, there's no good that comes from us being the trade capital, but we're the deficit is now a deficit. We're just losing the trade. We're not making anything, and people are just bringing their stuff in, and we're now just a consumer country. It's like I even said the other night or Wednesday night on the podcast that you'll probably get this afternoon, that we haven't created something new. We haven't innovated something in years. And I'll even say that the electric car isn't an innovation. Yes, it's something that we've done, but we've had those electric motors for a long time. Now we've scaled them up and made them bigger and made them work in cars, blah, blah, blah. And we've taken batteries, but we didn't innovate any of that stuff. We didn't create a new something for those items. We just we created a different kind of battery. We used different substances, but we didn't invent the airplane. We didn't invent, and maybe because of where we're at technology wise, we're beyond that. There aren't any majorly new inventions to come, but I just feel like we're as a country, we could do better. And so, debate wise, Trump didn't kill it. He wasn't as agile. He didn't have a quippy thing all the time. He didn't keep pushing how great we're going to make America. We're going to win. We're going to, all of that stuff. I did like the line about, he said, I wanted you to do great. Not that I expected you to, but I wanted you to do great so that I didn't have to be here trying to run for president again in 2024. That's the line of somebody who cares about the country. Now, is it just a line? We'll know. We'll know later. Maybe we won't know. Maybe he won't win. Maybe he won't, whatever. But is it just a line? I don't know. But that is the line of somebody who cares about what he's doing. That, I care so much that I put myself on the side to do what's best for what's going on. That was probably the best presidential line that he said. Otherwise, I would have liked to hear more about the plan. More, obviously we who are in politics, or we who like to listen to politics, or like to get the information for ourselves, we want to know if we want to know what the plan is. If you're anybody, you want to know what's the plan. What are we doing here? Why aren't we what's our next step? So we want, it'd been nice to get more of the plan. There, I mean, and none of the questions were, we're going to lead you down the path of righteousness. They weren't going to lead you down to the point of, one of these guys is going to break down and somehow fall apart. It was softball questions. I like how I wish Trump would have said something about January 6th to the point of nobody, there is no insurrection. There was no takeover of the country. He alluded to the fact that it was a fairly peaceful protest. They tried to say that there was statues turned upside down, and desks, and maybe there was a little bit of vandalism, but it was fair. I mean, it wasn't. We didn't burn St. Louis. We didn't burn Ferguson. There were no targets burnt. There were no, there was no major life loss. There was no major, there wasn't millions of dollars of damages happened, and all of that. So it was one of those. It was a more peaceful protest. So, but I would have liked him to key in on that a little bit more. I'm surprised how little him being a felon came up. That seemed like an easy target to come up with. So he did make a good point. Trump did make a good point about that. They said you're going to come back at your political opponents, or get retribution on your political opponents. And he asks, and they can't fathom that you wouldn't attack your political opponent, that you wouldn't, levy the IRS against them, or you wouldn't send the FBI investigating your political opponents, or, they can't fathom that, because they think that should be commonplace, that things that happen in Russia and Germany and that at one point in our country would have been just the most outrageous thing. I mean, if this was the 70s and 80s, and a president had levied the FBI against a political opponent, I mean, heck, Nixon tried to break into the other party's headquarters to find out what they were going to do next, and he had to. I mean, he remember resigning because of that as president, like already elected president. So, there's a completely different set of rules, a completely different mindset, completely different lifestyle than it used to be. You can't say that, and it's not just the political arena. It's not just the fact that the politics have changed. It's people today are different. There's a whole different mindset. You can say that it's because of schools. You can say that it's just because we've become more progressive and accepting and tolerant and all of that. But you know, it's a different mindset, different lifestyle. So things that would have been sussed out, things that would have been vetted back in the day in the news media, because we don't really have news media anymore. We don't have we don't have any station or anyone that just reports on the news. Even your local news, I would say 50% of the time, you've still got some sort of slant. And at one point, like, what's sad about it is it's even you. And if you really want to see it, go watch a sporting event, because those people are rooting for somebody, and you can tell that they're rooting for somebody. It's the same thing in news. We can't be 100% impartial. Now, at one point, the news tried to be 100% impartial and just report the news. But people themselves are not impartial. We have our own opinions, we have our own thoughts and our own meanderings and wonderings and things of that nature. And because of that, no matter whether we try to report it as impartially or not, we're going to lean away. And that's fine. That's just the way it is, the way things go. But no one's trying to just report what happened. That's why I can't get on here and ask Google or go DuckDuckGo what the questions were during the debate. What questions were asked during the debate? So can't ask them. I get what policies, what got airtime, the 6 takeaways from the first presidential debate. What to know about the key policies that got airtime from NPR. Trump Biden debate highlights, 4 key takeaways from CNN. On NBC, I get the 6 takeaways from the New York Times. I get analysis, key moments, and Trump Biden debate in the Washington Post. I get your questions about the presidential debate answered from Time Magazine. I don't want my questions answered. I want the actual facts. I want what questions were asked, and then I can go down and say I can remember what was answered, how it was answered, and then that kind of thing. Or I can go watch the debate itself. And honestly, if you don't know, if you haven't watched the debate yourself and you're just relying on me or Bob that's down the street or the Blaze or Fox or CNBC or NBC or CNN or BBC or whoever, New York Times, Time Magazine, then honestly, don't go vote. And this is a hard line to say, but you're not educating yourself. You're not going to the source. You're not getting the education. You are taking the shortcut, the easy way out. If you're just listening to me, you're taking the shortcut. I am who I am, and you just make your decision on whether you think I'm intelligent enough to give you the information or not. But if you're just listening to me, don't go vote. You're not educated enough. Because you didn't figure it out yourself. You don't have a standing or a a thought of your own. You have my thoughts. It's the same. It's the same thing about anything that you do in life, any of your beliefs. If you believe it because somebody else believed it for you, or because somebody else believed it before you and told you to believe it, you don't believe it. The first time that your beliefs are called into question, you're going to question them yourself, and you're not going to know what to do. That's why we sit here and we ask some of the questions we ask. That's why we sit here and we talk about things like abortion, or we talk about things like AI, or we talk about what we're going to talk about next week in talking about the conspiracy theories. We are here to get you to realize that your thoughts need to be your thoughts. Free yourself from everybody else's, thoughts on what should happen. It's like these guys that I was watching on CNN. They're like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe he's so bad, and his health is so bad. He can't even put together sentences. He was trailing off. He was just staring blankly at the screen or at the cameras. He was just, was looking down all the time. Like, if you watched any of his speeches, even the State of the Union, where he's like super jazzed and probably on some kind of cocktail of uppers and that, he still isn't super coherent in his speech. He even admitted today in North Carolina, and I point to the back because I got screens on and TVs going in the back here, that he's not as fast as he once was. He can't walk as well as he once could. He can't speak as well as he once could. He can't debate as well as he once could. Then you're done. It's over. Why in the world would we want to hire for the highest pay, most powerful job in the world, somebody who's not as good as they once were? If you're not as good as you once were, there's somebody better than you. Time to step down. And maybe that's the same with Trump. Maybe he's not as fast as he once was. Maybe he's not as quick as he once was, as quippy as he once was, as intelligent as he once was. Then it's time for him to step down. If you're not in your prime, and that's not physically, like, I don't care if the guy's not as fast, he's not as physically gifted as he once was, because we're not in this for the physically gifted. But if you're not as intelligent as you once were, if you can't speak as well as you once could, you're not equipped for the job. Because the president of the United States should be the most eloquent, the most powerful, the most charismatic, the most drawing figure in the room, in the country. That's why we use generals a lot of times. That's why we elected generals back in the day, is because they were the people who commanded attention. Dude can't command his own attention, let alone command your attention. So they get on here and they're all, "Oh, I'm so surprised. I can't believe it." No, we have lowered our standard of who should be president. There's no way he should have been elected the first time. He couldn't go out in public. He couldn't talk. He has gaffes all the time. He says the wrong thing. He talks about the on the border crisis, where they brought up the fact that there's been crime from illegal aliens, and he's ready to pardon these people and he's ready to give them amnesty. And there was a rape and murder, and Trump went to the funeral, and he says, well, yeah, he went to the funeral, but people are raped and murdered every day by their family and friends. And this was a publicized event where this person shouldn't have been added to the country. This person's rape and murder statistic should not have been added to our country's statistics. This isn't a family friend. This isn't a family member that has known this person. This is a person that, because we couldn't secure our borders, we added them to the country. We added them to this person's life. And they were killed. Think about that side of it. That if this person couldn't get in the country, that person would still be alive. Those people who were raped and murdered by their family is terrible, horrible, indescribably bad. Especially the fact that your own family or your own friends were perpetrated this on you. But they've been in your life, and you probably didn't have a choice of that. But they've been in your life, and that's it. This person wasn't supposed to be in your life. Not a family member. Not a family friend. Got in the country illegally. And I think that's where we lose sight of what's going on. Is these people are coming into the country illegally. They're breaking into your house. And they're doing whatever they want to do. Whether they're staying at your house, whether they're, taking your money, whether they're taking your bed, whether you're killing your people. They came into your country. They came into your house. Basically breaking and entering. You're not going to leave that person there and say, "Oh, no, he's like part of the family now. This is Jose. This is Francois. This is Akbar. This is Johnny." Whatever you want to, whatever scenario you want of who's coming into the country, because you can't say that we haven't given the opportunity for Al Qaeda to come in the country. You can't say we haven't given the opportunity for ISIS, for the Mexican drug cartels, the Chinese drug cartels, the Russians. We were all worried about Russian sleeper cells, the Russian dossier, all of that. You can't tell me that those people haven't come into the country, taken advantage of the last 4 years and come into this country. Part of that 20 million people that have come in that may have made this country less safe. So I know this hasn't been, sunshine, rainbows, but think about this. I mean, think about it. This is why this is the Why I'm Angry podcast, and this is here to make you not angry, but to vent your frustration. Like, think about this. People are going to going on these websites, and they're getting their questions answered by somebody's opinion. I'll be the first to say that the president, as powerful as he is probably the single person that's the most powerful person. But who's the most powerful? Those 300 and some Congress people. That mob that is now just band together. You know why the Democrats are so powerful? Because they band together brainlessly, and they answer the same thing. And when it comes down to it, they vote the same. I don't want to vote the same as this guy over here if it's not my conscience. But the problem is you have no power if you don't. And if we don't somehow get in, and we don't somehow get a change set up that puts term limits on the power, there's no limit to the power. That is probably the single biggest mistake that was not dealt with by the Constitution. Is that we didn't limit the time that you could have the power. And I say that with all sincerity, all seriousness. I understand that we didn't give women the right to vote. We allowed slavery, all of that. But we didn't limit the power of the government. We didn't limit the power of legislation by limiting how long they could be there. Think about that. Think about that as we go here. Remember, we need support. Like I said, I'll have the podcast up here in the next few hours. But we need that help. We need that. We need the money to be able to work through those contracts. We need the money to be able to advertise out things that are going on, and think about supporting us. It's whyimangry.com, and get on there. You can support $1. You can get the ad-free version for $1.25. You can throw us $5 or $10. Just get on that $1 and just add 5 or 10 of them to it, and just help us out. Let's get this word out, and let's get people thinking for themselves again.
Remember to follow, like, and share the Why I'm Angry podcast across all social media platforms and anywhere you get your podcast. The Why I'm Angry podcast ends now.